and people didn't know what to say to me.
Little Mills.
Oh, that's my dog.
So people didn't know what to say to you? Yeah.
People didn't know what to say, and I completely get that, because like if you say I've just lost my friend to suicide, they're like, oh God, like that's awful. Like yeah, it is awful. But it was very much people didn't understand, and then I think my teachers noticed I was like distracted or whatever in class, and I wasn't like, sometimes I was getting to class late, or I was tired in class because I hadn't really slept, because I was still trying to like process everything.
You have so many questions like when something like this happens, like and talking about that, what was your grieving process? Like how did you go through things play by play?
So obviously there's like, they say there's 5 stages of grief, which is like shock, denial, anger, depression, acceptance. That's like the 5 clinical stages, but they don't necessarily go in that order, and you can come in and out of
them. You can interchange.
So obviously I was shocked a lot, but there was a lot of like, why it was in, I think back now, and I think it's quite a selfish thing. I was like, why is this happening to me? Why did it happen to be my friend that did that? Why am I having to go through this at 20? Like, what have I done wrong? And then I think back and I was like, that's really, it's like a selfish way of looking at things. But at the time, that's how I dealt with it. And I was just so, like, I was never angry at him though. That's something that I think a lot of people say they struggle with, like being angry at the person for doing it. I was never once angry at him for doing what he did. Never angry. I just said, I wish like you could have done something. Like, I wish you just said something, because it wasn't his first attempt, and I wasn't aware of that. Like, and I only found out later that was not his first attempt. But had I known, maybe I'd have. You know, there's all the what ifs, but
of course, it's another process of what
wishing
questions.
Does nothing. But I feel like grief is such a long process. Like I say, he passed away in June of 2017. We're now in February of 2020.
3 years ago.
So that's almost three years, and I'm still grieving. I think I'm still going through.
There's no time. There's no time limit.
There's
no time limit.
There's absolutely no time limit. But there's obviously.
You just get better.
You do get better, and as much as people say time is a healer, and I used to think, no, it's not. Like, I don't feel any better.
It is.
Like, it is, and it will. You will feel better as time goes on. Not necessarily because it gets any easier. It's just you adjust
you learn to
like a new way of life.
Accept it, and the whole grief. Yeah, like you were saying about certain aspects of grief. Like I didn't. Not once was I angry at him. I just felt, what's the word, where I almost feel his pain, but obviously I can't. I can never feel what he was feeling at the time. But you almost were like, you feel like sick to your stomach. You feel like just,
how did I not know?
Oh my God, like what on earth?
Yeah.
How like, don't get me wrong, like I had certain, he'd changed over the years as I'd known him. We disconnected from each other a little bit. I, tried reaching out. Everything was always fine, but and it's difficult. It's relatively difficult to kind of, get that out of someone. It's quite difficult. But the processes of, like, for me, the grieving process for me was, the first thing I felt was, I didn't believe it.
Yeah.
Like, I just went, nah, this can't be true at all. That's no way. Like, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Then the next day was shock. Like, obviously, just like, oh my God, like, this has actually happened. I spoke to some mates, and at the same time, you can still feel, like, this is one of the things, you can still feel both of those things at once.
Yeah.
It's not, you don't just jump from stage to stage. Like, I was shocked as well as still didn't believe it. So I was shocked, but I was like, I still don't believe it.
Yeah.
And then it was like, it set in a little bit more as the days went on. And I just kind of, and again, you know when you touched on, you said you felt like, why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
Not once, every time anyone asked me, everyone was asking, I got confused why people were asking me if I was okay. And I was like, don't worry about me. Like, message his family, his family or something. But when I went to the funeral, I realised, obviously I was a big part of his life as well. We were best friends for a long time. And as well, that was a whole different, going to the funeral was that closure, like just a bit of a, it wasn't great. It wasn't a good time at all. It wasn't something that I enjoyed in any way, but it was the closure of just seeing him one last time, which, in my opinion, I wouldn't suggest to look if it wasn't, if you're in a situation and you get a chance to see that person again. Personally, I wouldn't. I personally wouldn't.
I was very unsure of what to do because I was given the option to go and see him if I wanted to, and like I did want to, but everyone was advising me against it, and I was like, I can make my own decision. Like if I want to go, I'm going to go. And then it just so happened that the last day I could before the funeral, I overslept, and I woke up and I thought, I can't go. Oh, and I was really mad at myself, but now I'm like, I think that was probably for the best, and maybe subconsciously I was like, I don't want to see it.
Yeah.
I don't want to see him. Because now the memories I have of him are him with rosy cheeks and laughing and like full of life. So when I think of him, I don't think of him as like deceased.
Yeah.
I think of him as full of life and joy, and how much joy he brought to me and how much joy I gave to him in the too short time that we had together. Rather than thinking like, obviously it's a tragedy, but I think of him as he was, which wasn't like, obviously deep rooted it was, but it wasn't sad. We weren't sad together. We like lifted each other. No,
you said like we lifted. He always used to make me laugh without saying a word. Like and
it's always
I just feel like obviously it was my choice, and I thought I think I owe it to see him one last time, but I just think that was a big mistake. And I remember the fun loving the Shani that would do a backflip for no reason. He'd be laughing, he'd like laugh at something, and it'd just be nuts, like, and it just, I don't know, it would just be like seeing him like that, at least lifeless. That is the only, like, I still
still have that.
That's it. I still have that bit. That's not the only picture I ever have of him. That's the most. That's the freshest one. Yeah, that's the freshest picture I have of him. And it's unfortunate, but I know that now, and this is one of those.
We sort of already touched on it, but I just think that is something that I want to emphasize, is how to, like, we'll do another talk on this in particular. Really. But about to really press someone, like, are you okay? Are you? Yeah, I'm good. Like, but are you alright? Like, how are you feeling in yourself? Yeah. Like, without making it like, are you depressed?
Yeah.
But like,
it's not.
How are you feeling in yourself? Genuinely, how are you feeling?
It's not a question of pressing someone, or it's not even the are you okay? It's like I can say, how are you doing, Emily? You alright? And you're like, oh no, I just feel really anxious about my play. Okay, well, what's making you feel like that? You open it into something. Obviously, I understand that it's not going to be so easy to say. Like some people just aren't going to open up. I get that. Some people just aren't going to.
I like that. Yeah.
But there's so many different ways around it. There's so many, and in hindsight, it is easy to sit and say that.
It's so easy. Yeah, it's easy to say it when you're not the one feeling it. But from experience, when you've been there. And like, I've not been in that darker place, but like, after I lost Joel, it was very much like, I don't know how I'm gonna ever recover from this. I don't know how I'm actually gonna live my life.
Pain, you're just so hurt, aren't you? You're just in so much pain. You're like, I can't. And which makes you think, like, obviously, at the time, like, we were close to these people. Imagine how their family felt,
how mum and dad feel.
How, do you know what I mean? It's nobody should be burying their child before, do you know what I mean?
No one should ever have to bury their child.
No one should do that. But also as well, I want to touch on, and I think you touched on it earlier, about like how people address you in a time like this.
Yeah, nobody knows what to say. And
which is understandable. I understand. Nobody, like, there's some topics where someone will say, like, something that's never happened to you. Someone will say, I lost my arm at work. I can't work anymore. What do you say to that person? You have to you don't know what to say because it's never happened to you. It's never happened to anyone you know.
You don't know how to feel about that. Yeah.
There's a way around it. You don't. I say what helps and what doesn't help. What doesn't help is to, let's say, Emily, I've lost my arm. I can't work. I can't box. I can't do anything. One of the first things you shouldn't say to me should be, how did you lose your arm?
That's a big thing that we both spoke about and said happens so often. When someone finds out that somebody young, I think in particular, has died.
Anyone in general.
How did they die? I used to get messages like, "Oh, really sorry. How did he die?" And I was like, "That's none of your business."
I think like I said, I had so many people messaging me, "Are you okay, mate? You know, I'm sorry to hear what happened with Ishani. I'm really sorry, this and that." And then it's just what happened? And I'm like, dude, I don't know. Personally, I didn't know until late, and I didn't want to know. It's not something I wanted to know.
No, and I didn't.
And when I found out, I felt so much worse.
Yeah.
When I found out what happened, I felt so much worse because then it opens up more questions. It just went, what must he have been feeling to go through the process of doing this? You know what I mean? Like it just, it's
how
one of those things. Yeah.
Feeling that. Alone,
where you are, alone, to feel like you are better off, not here. Alone. Yeah, you know, like...
Because being alone in general is, for me, I'm such a people person, like being alone for me is horrible anyway.
Yeah,
if you're feeling that low and you're alone and you're about to do something so, final.
Yeah, so final, that's a good word.
That's it, and that's it, you're doing it and that's that. I think, how must he have felt going, I wish I could have been there.
Your heart bleeds a little bit, doesn't it?
It'll be okay, we'll get through it together.
But the thing is, you have to know that. And a lot of times people don't know. I never knew you felt like this. You hear that so much. I never knew you felt like this. But if anything, what I'm trying to say is there's so many other ways. Just think maybe just in the interest of trying to help somebody grieve, in the interest of trying to help with the whole process, there's questions that should be asked, there's questions that shouldn't be asked. But if anything, I think how I felt at the time, what my best friend did was just empathise with me.
Yeah.
He just empathised. You know what I mean? I'm not saying everyone's got that kind of thing in them, and not everyone. Empathy is a lot easier when you've gone through it yourself.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So.
Because you've been there.
Yeah, because you've been there, so you can relate and you can bounce back and forth. But not everyone's been through that process. But just kind of take yourself and your emotions out of the equation and put yourself in that person's shoes if you can.
Yeah.
And that's just the key thing. Do you want to let her out?
Yeah.
Just empathising with the person. What I found, like I had, I call her a friend now. She was a client. I call her a friend now. She lost a horse. I have a little bit of experience with horses, but I'm not even an animal person. So I don't have a dog. I don't have any connection like that to an animal. So talking to me on paper wouldn't be very helpful, but I can empathise and I put myself.
With losing something you care about.
It's losing something you care about, and I took my emotions out of it and my views on anything out of it, and just kind of went, this is a horrible time. And just know if you need to speak about anything. I don't want to speak about what happened to your horse. I don't want to speak about how. I don't want to speak about why. I don't want to speak about how old it is. I don't want to speak about anything like that. I just want to speak about whatever it is you want to talk about and how you feel. Just tell me, and that we'll go from there.
Yeah.
I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to
know the details. Yeah.
I just want to. I just want you to tell me how you feel, and whatever you want to say it. That's where I am.
And quite often I found, I don't know if you found this as well, but people didn't want to bring it up because they didn't want to upset me, whereas in actual fact, it was pretty much the only thing I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, not that I didn't want to talk about anything else, or I wanted to be constantly sad, or it didn't make me sad, because it did, but I loved him, and I wanted to talk about him all the time, and I wanted to talk about it, and I wanted to open up about it, and people didn't really like it, or I felt like I was making people uncomfortable if I did.
Yeah.
So you need.
You feel it, don't you?
You feel like, I don't.
You feel like the mood just changed, and it's not their fault either. It's not anyone's fault.
Because no one knows what to say. Like,
no one knows.
I mean, I'd been going through it for like a year and a half when it happened to you, or 2 years, over 2 years, and I still was like, I don't really know what to say, but like, I'm sorry and I'm here, kind of thing. Like, that's all you need to say is that I'm sorry and I'm here, and if you do want to talk about it. And I'll listen.
Yeah, and it's difficult because one of the things I did, you were one of the first people, you and my dad, when it happened, after it all happened, I remember I was driving around and I was going home and I was driving and I just didn't even know where I was going. I was just driving, and then I ended up on the phone to my dad somehow. I just ended up calling him. I didn't realise I'd done it, and I ended up he was just like, "You're right," and I was like, "Yeah, not too bad." And he's like, "What's up? What are you calling me for?" kind of thing, and I was like, I didn't realise I called you, and he was like, what's going on? And I just said to him, I feel so lost. I don't know how to feel. I have so many questions. I don't know what to do with myself, let alone I don't know what to do.
Lost is such a good word to describe it.
I just
You're
feel
just
like
in this weird limbo land.
What's it? Just purgatory, just floating. I have no idea what to do, where to be, what to say to anyone. Like, I don't know what to do.
Exactly
And
the same.
so I remember I messaged Emily, and I just said, like, you know, I asked her certain questions. I was like, look, is it normal to see him in my dreams? Is it normal to just, you know, all of a sudden get a rush of sadness, like because it always sets in. Like, you think of something funny they used to do, or something about them.
Yeah.
You remember through seeing someone, whatever it is. You remember. Like, for us, it was like what he used to say, and a song he sang at karaoke, and I find it very hard to listen to that song now because it just reminds me of him. And every time I think about it, I get really sad. And I asked you, I was like, is that normal? And it's just a small question, but there's nothing wrong with that.
From someone that's been through it as well, it's like you want. I tried to be to you what I feel like I needed at the time and didn't have, because, but I probably did have someone that felt like that had experienced it, but I was just very closed off. I was very like bitter, I think, and angry. And I think when it happens, you can go one of two ways. You can be angry and go a bit self-destruct mode, which I think I did, or you can do what you did and like let it spur you on. Yeah. And now I've sort of crossed paths, but at first I was just so mad. I was not mad at him. Like I said, I wasn't angry. I was angry at the world. I was like, how could this happen? Like, how could this possibly happen to him?
Yeah, like again, it's such a shock, and it always will be.
Oh yeah.
It always will be, because you never pictured that being them.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
It is, and like we will always talk about as well, and it is a well-known fact now, but I still don't feel like enough weight is put on it, is that it's the leading killer of men under 40. So that's more than like.
It was under 25, I think, for a while, and then now it's
like that's under 40.
Cancer, heart disease.
Any cancer, heart disease,
anything.
Car crashes, accidents.
It's the number one
anything.
killer.
It's the biggest thing.
It's like a stupid number, like 70% or something.
Is men taking their own lives.
Yeah.
And that, to me,
is worrying.
Is such a scary thing. I have a younger brother.
Yeah, you have a father.
I have dad. I have a boyfriend, and I have people in my life that I care about, and I think Joel, my best friend, was someone's brother, someone's son. I'm one day, hopefully, gonna have a son, and if we're growing up in a world where it's the number one killer, then I think something needs to change. Whether it's opening a conversation, which is why I think it's so important that we're trying to do this, as whatever this is going to become, that we need to do it and open a conversation. And like, you know, our messages are always open, and everyone is posting on their stories like, if you need to talk about anything, talk to me. But also just check up on your friends. Not even like if you're worried about, just like, you okay? Yeah, but you like, how's your week going? How are you feeling? I don't know. It's just. There's no right or wrong way. There's no guide.
There is no cheat code to it. It just I know what worked, what has made me feel better, and I've voiced that, and you know what's made you feel a certain way. And that everyone, we experience grief completely differently. We experience certain things completely differently. But to speaking as a man, at one point I did think it was weak. It was weak to open up or say anything. It was always deal with it, man.
You think if you put in like a certain bracket?
Yeah, like deal with it. Don't be a. Yeah, I'm not gonna say it, but don't be weak. Like, deal with it.
Yeah.
But it's stronger than anything. Like,
the strongest thing that you can do is be honest with yourself.
Be honest with yourself.
Talk about it.
And just come out with it and talk about it, because it's killing people, and it's killing people.
And it's
as simple as that.
You know.
Yeah.
Probably, and it's. Like one of the hugest people in my life it killed, and one of the hugest people in your life.
It's not weak. It's not weak to talk. Just help yourself. That's what it is. You're helping yourself, as well as everyone around you.
And if this video makes one person talk, then that's one more.
Yeah,
person.
I'm happy with that.
Me too.
I think that's a good place to conclude.
Yeah, I'm happy.
Right, so I'm Lanish Devia, Emily Collier. Yeah, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and follow our social medias. That will be down at the bottom.
And share it with all your friends as well.
Thank you. See you later.